Greetings, fellow travelers. Your cruise companions have arrived in Valletta, and this is our hotel pool. But due to the time change, we are here at 4:30 in the morning. So it's empty. But we are dedicated cruise travelers, so we are going to tell you our exciting adventures as we hit the road.
Good morning, fellow cruise companions. We are talking to you from Valletta. Yes, we have really made it here to Malta. If you're wondering why it's so dark, it's because 4:30 in the morning comes all too soon when you're on the central time zone back at home. I had a very good sleep on the plane, but I didn't sleep well here at all, so I apologize to you ahead of time if some of the things I say do not make a whole lot of sense.
But the good news is that all the connections were made pretty smoothly, I would say, and as expected, we are here. And the other good news, of course, is that when we got up this morning, we found an email from Viking indicating that all of our fellow passengers are going to be allowed to come into Malta. And although we had no real issues, it was a tense situation from a passenger's point of view that Malta was going to restrict the entry of United States citizens into their country. But
my biggest takeaway from our experiences yesterday is this dod-rotted passenger locator form thing that we've talked to you about before. On the plane, the flight attendants started giving us out new forms that asked many but not all of these questions, and it was very unclear to us whether we needed to do them as well as this one. And we can tell you that as of today, if you do a good job of filling in this form, that's all that you need. So if they try to give you stuff on the plane, by then you'll be jet lagged just like we are. Don't bother.
So these were paper forms that you filled out, and they made it semi-clear that you could fill out an electronic form instead, but the forms don't look the same.
And they don't ask all the same questions either, or not in the same way. So I tried to fill them in as best I could on the plane as well, but this, if you do a good job of this, that's all you need.
We had downloaded them prior. So this is called the EU, which is a little bit confusing because it doesn't say Malta, EU Digital Passenger Locator Form, the DPLF. And it has this QR code at the top. And that's one of the things that they will be using to read your information. And as you would expect, I made a couple of mistakes. We talked about a couple earlier that I made.
We're trying to help you not make as many mistakes as we have.
But don't get confused when you get on the plane and you don't see this form. And the flight attendants on our flight had no clue.
We're not sure either, because they were from Germany and they didn't know.
We flew in on Lufthansa. So the thing that caused confusion and a little bit of extra time at the I was actually
after baggage claim. That's when we did all the form stuff
and the medical entry. We haven't ever seen this type of process. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think this form is one that you need to be very well aware of. They talked about it talks here about your primary and your temporary address. And I clicked off and I said, well, they're the same because I live, where I live is where I live.
Wrong.
However, what they really wanted was your hotel information.
Or the cruise, right? If you're going right to the cruise.
Thing. And I kind of equivocated and said, well, basically we're going on a cruise. And she was like, oh, how do I put down an address for that? Because she was willing to write it in and accept this form. Thank God. She was willing to accept it, but I had to have an address. So finally, she wrote in the address of the hotel right here.
Where we're talking to you from.
And that seemed to be okay. So be prepared for that. Maybe by the time you get here, Viking will have worked this out, and Viking cruise ship will be the adequate answer. And maybe you need to check with them to see what the answer should really be. So we last talked to you, and we were at O'Hare.
Is that when it was? I can't remember.
Days and days and days ago. So we were about to leave, and we made it to, actually all the flight connections were very
went very smoothly for us.
I should mention that at O'Hare, we originally went to the Lufthansa desk, And they didn't want to talk to
They
us
didn't-
because
yeah.
it was a United flight code shared with
With Lufthansa.
So, you know, we haven't flown in a couple of years. And
We used to be good at this.
Yes. Oh, the experience comes, it's hard won.
And of course, in our olden days, you went up to a counter.
Yeah.
Lufthansa still had one, and you dealt with an agent, and you stood in line. And now
And
at
they took your
O'Hare,
bags
anyway,
and they gave you the luggage stickers.
United had kiosks where you check yourself in, and that's
And-
very smooth and logical if you're doing a domestic flight. But I knew with all this paperwork that we were going to get stuck somewhere
Exactly.
along the line. So luckily, we collared a United agent who kind of walked us through the process, and there were a few times where they needed to verify your forms. I've seen some people online were very angry that that things didn't go so smoothly through United, and United was asking them all these questions, and it still wasn't good enough. And that's because the agent has to verify that all the information you've put on your passport and all that stuff is true. And so she stood there with us and kept clicking the buttons whenever that needed to be verified. And our check-in was so smooth and easy. She printed our luggage tags.
But right there at the kiosk,
Yeah.
there were no standard check-in desks
For United. There was for Lufthansa.
And of course, one of the issues is that we were checking in right along with all the domestic passengers. I mean, we were leaving from the domestic terminal, so it was a busy area, and they had maybe, I don't know, 30 of these terminals, these digital terminals, and they issued the baggage tag. I'd never seen that before. They issued the baggage tag right from the terminal there, right from the kiosk, along with the agent, and then the only time you really have to deal with an agent is you walk up with your bags and they weigh them and put them on the plane. And those people were not there to provide you with boarding assistance.
But I should add that this was our experience at a very
Yes.
busy airport, and that may not be yours. You just have to pay attention and
But
make
be
sure
alert
you're in
that
the right
this-
line, and
that
make
this
sure
may happen.
you collar somebody to help you if you feel like you can't answer all the questions
And
yourself.
they did have a number of agents,
Yeah.
and they had to have their little swipe card so that they could access other features that we were not accessing.
It's like when you buy
Privileged to.
liquor and you look like this, and they say, "Are you 21
Are
or
you 20?
18 or whatever you have to be?"
Martha, now.
I got carded the other day. Would you believe it?
At the liquor store to buy a box of wine. It was carded. Well, that's good to know you don't look 21.
Yes, indeed.
So we got on the plane. We flew very smooth on the Dreamliner, the 787 to Munich, and we got off in Munich and no problem there. We went and spent 4 hours in the lounge. We had paid for an upgrade to business class for our flight to Malta. They charged us $100, and we thought, well, to go to the lounge
Is worth it.
is worth it for 4 hours. And actually, we arrived early, and so the lounge time was actually substantially longer, where they have nice food and a nice relaxing atmosphere, plenty of high-speed internet, and all the things that we really wanted to have.
And the other thing that gave us was a meal on the plane. Who knows whether it was time to eat or not, but the people behind us in real economy had to pay for any food that they consumed on the flight, where we just got it. So it was a good investment, I thought.
Yeah.
Of
And
our
that flight was full. The flight to Munich was full, and of course people going everywhere. So we didn't know that anybody was going to Malta with us. And we sat at the terminal for 4 hours in the lounge, and then we got on our flight to Malta. And this was on an Airbus 320, which seats about 180 people.
Almost full.
Almost full. And I'm not sure if there were other Americans on board or not, but we were there, and there were lots of Maltese. There were lots of red passports, and that's one of the way you tell when you get off is that all these people with red passports, the covers are red, whereas ours, of course, are blue, so you know that they're not American citizens. So they came through and they gave us this form, and everybody was chaotically trying to fill it out, and we tried to fill it out, and
We weren't the only
we
confused
didn't-
people.
We were, yeah, and everybody, even though there were many European citizens, most of them I assume were Europeans, EU citizens. Anyway, we should also mention that to get on the O'Hare flight, to get on the flight to Malta, all you needed was your passport. They didn't really check anything to be.
We didn't
Malta.
show our vaccination. We showed
showed it
our
at O'Hare.
vaccination card in Munich,
Uh,
I think.
okay.
Yeah.
We didn't need much documentation, let's put it that way.
Because we were in transit.
There was nothing special to Malta. And we should also mention in transit was very easy too. We went through EU customs. We didn't get our bags in Munich.
No.
We went through a customs checkpoint where they looked at our
passport
and probably, I don't remember getting out the...
Yeah, I remember getting it out.
Controversy about that, but you have that, so that's not an issue.
We're sorry, we're half asleep.
And then we went and sat in the lounge at Munich. And then, so now flying, got on the flight. It's about 2.5, oh no, it was 75
less than
minutes.
2 hours,
yeah, less than 2 hours to get to Malta. And we landed in Malta. Things happened very quickly. You have to take a bus to get off the plane.
That's pretty common in Europe.
Yeah. And of course we were a bit nervous about this whole process because it's very close to that July 14th that we were...
The cutoff day.
And we thought, well, there's going to be some questions about that. And so...
Nobody cared.
It's amazing how little documentation we've had to have other than our passports. So you get off, go get your luggage, and there was no real passport control. I mean, there was no... And then... after you get your luggage, you go through the customs check. And that turned out to be the medical check. And that was a long line.
But very well staffed. There were 20 stations
20
there,
kiosks.
so even though our plane was full, the line kept moving. I don't mind standing in a line as long as I'm still walking.
Yeah, you were almost walking in the line.
And I very much felt like those people were there to help us to get into their country. They were not there to prevent us from coming into their country.
The attitude was very good.
When we didn't have this form filled out quite properly, the agent was very helpful to us, and I could hear other people around us with similar issues as well. They wanted to make it work, and it did.
So I'm not sure. The email said that you go to I forgot, some sort
Health
of...
something.
Yeah, priority check-in desk or something like that.
We
were not looking for that, and we didn't see that. There was only one place to go, and that was in this line.
And everybody went there.
Everybody had to go through this line. And it took us about 45 minutes to go through the line. And you think, oh, I'm getting close to the front. But no, then it bends around and goes over.
It's like Disney World lines. All we needed was a little Mickey to entertain us while we were waiting.
And of course, at that time, we were pretty jet-lagged, as we are now.
Yes.
Because it was the middle of the afternoon for them. We arrived at 4:30 or so, and it was 9 o'clock in the morning for us after getting almost no sleep. So anyway, we got to the front of the line, worked out perfect. The lady took care of our form. I don't remember showing a passport. Oh, we must have shown.
No, I think the passport number is on the form, so maybe that was good enough.
Yeah. So we then
left.
Got our bags and walked out, and there was a little man there with our names on it,
which we had arranged. It doesn't just happen.
And remember, I told you that this was $35 trip to the hotel, 15 minutes in a limo, but much cheaper than the
ship transfer. That's why we like to do those things ourselves.
So
we're cheap.
We made it to the hotel, and they were expecting us, and actually all the connections went as we expected. I didn't really feel like there were many glitches along the way at all, and so this bodes well for the rest of the cruise.
And we were so glad to hear that you guys can come. For a while there, we were thinking, well, we'll get in because the line is on Wednesday when they won't let you in anymore, and we'll be on that ship all by ourselves. I don't mind if it's not chock-a-block full, but I would love to have some company, and I'm glad that you guys are getting ready to come.
The weather is hot and humid, and so the air conditioning feels very nice. And right now we're sitting on the waterfront, looking at the pool, which you can't see, but
behind
I
us,
did show you just a little bit.
because it's still so dark, and the sea is in front of us, and that's really dark.
We'll probably be eating breakfast here in about 3 hours.
After I take another nap.
After she takes a nap. So we will end it up there, and on a very positive note, and we hope to see you, and if you're on one of the following cruises, it looks good for those to be sailing also.
Yes,
I
Viking
believe
seems to
other
have
ships
worked
have
it out.
sailed here. Yeah, so that's, we said they have boots on the ground, and they knew what to do to make this happen, so that's the best news we can give you. It's all good, and we'll be giving you a report as the day after tomorrow we get on the or is it tomorrow? What's today?
Tomorrow we get on the ship.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow we get on the
Right.
ship.
Tomorrow we get on the ship, and so we'll be giving you a full report about how that process goes. So we'll see you.
I'm expecting smooth from here on in.
Yeah, no problems.